Yes. Once again, another episode of One on One. Live in the studio today, we might have my man Billy the Kid. What's good, brother?
Yo, what's poppin'?
Chilling. Thanks for coming through. We got Gigi in the back on the third mic off camera. And a big shout out to my man, John 10%. He's on the engineer board again for today. And we're really excited. This is our third episode of One on One. And big shout out to everyone out there in the viewing audience. We've been getting a good response. Everyone's feeling it. People talking about the interview style. They really love to hear about what the artist is getting into. And then not to mention, we always get a live production set from our guest artists. So really excited to have Billy the Kid in the house today. And I first saw this brother at the Open Beats Beat Series here in Chicago at Dorian's. But it turned out that G knew him from way back in the days, and like all our guests so far, real official hip hop dude. You know what I'm saying? Lives the life, lives the culture. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So word. So Billy, we're gonna jump around a little bit. We're gonna get into history, what you're doing now, and where you want to go in the future. But just tell a little bit about like what records you're kind of checking out right now, and what's influencing your beats right now.
For sure. Well, always the influences come from like 80s, 90s type records. I just love the overall semi-fakeness of the sound, because if you know anything about musical movements in the 80s, like it was moving away from more live instrumentation and bands to synth program type beats.
Right.
I don't know, something about the weird fakeness of it all is just capturing to me, and I like to try to recreate that and bring the soul out of that stuff in my beats.
True. Yeah. I love that too. I mean, as a DJ for years, I love a lot of that 80s boogie, 80s R&B. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, everybody who was in the studio was like almost like scrambling. You could hear like the experimentation in real time. Every year that came out, somebody was doing something new on a record. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
definitely love that era. Word. So now we're gonna take it back. Let's just get a little bit into like when you first was understanding what hip hop culture was to you, and kind of getting involved with hip hop culture. How old were you back then?
I would say the first time I really started to understand like what hip hop was, not just rap, was like maybe 2004.
Okay.
I think
Word.
I was around then. Like I knew I'd heard like rap music before, but I didn't really understand like there's a actual culture behind the whole stuff. I knew it's just the music, like people rapping, but there's a lot more to it than just the rapping. Word.
Yeah, and I definitely also want to get into talking to you about graffiti culture as well. I was down with graffiti from when I was very young. Like, I think I started right when I was like 13. You know what I mean? I had a homie who I grew up in a suburb of New York, like a little upstate, and I had a homie who moved to the town, and he was already kind of into it. So I liked it. Like I used to see it around. My father lived in the Bronx, so in the 90s, the Bronx was like super bomb with graffiti, and arguably definitely one of the best golden eras of like Bronx and New York City graffiti. So coming in and out of the suburbs, going to visit my father, I just saw incredible graffiti, and then if you guys can remember back in the days, in the Source magazine in the back, they had a little section that had featured graffiti writers for the month. Every month the magazine came out. Mm-hmm. So it turned out that a couple guys from my suburb made the page. And this kid who moved to my town, he knew about these graffiti writers. We were all only like 13, the young ages. These guys must have already been in like their early like adulthood, like 20s or 19, whatever. So, and he was like, yo, let's go take pictures. And then he knew how to boost. So he was like, yo, help me get this spray paint. And I grew up in like a church family. I wasn't supposed to be down with none of this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know it's very long-winded, but I just want to share this because usually people who know me with the music don't know I really was all about graffiti, and I spent a long time. I went from like the age of 13 till about 21. And then when I was 21, I just got so heavy into music that I just said, I'm going to have to decide. And not that I didn't love graffiti anymore, but I just was like, just loved music, that's where my life was going. So,
right.
But anyhow, maybe you could share with us a little bit about not only like what graffiti art and graffiti culture means to you, but how you see that in terms of like your music and hip hop culture in general?
For sure. Well, yeah, I got into graffiti kind of late, I guess you could say. It was still like teens, but like the end of the teens.
Right.
But like just coming from Chicago, like our graph comes from like gang culture.
Okay.
So our letters are a little bit sharper than say like a New York style, where it's more like funky. Ours is more like, yo, back up, don't touch me. Like,
Okay. Okay.
we on something over here.
Right. Word. And yeah, man. I mean, I know like when we used to observe like the Five Boroughs graffiti, it was all about going all city. Like, can you say that you went all city out here in Chicago?
Yeah, like for here a little bit, like going all city is a little bit different. Like like for most people, if you consider all city, like you got Phils riding on all parts of the train lines, and you got like it's pretty much just centered around the train lines. Like you got stations, you got tags or scribes on all the stations. You got Phil's pieces off of all parts of the lines, like the north, the south part, the beginning to all the way to the end.
Word.
But yeah, I would say for the most part, pretty much not as much as some people, but you'll see it.
Word.
I could definitely attest to what Billy's saying because I spent some time doing a little bit of graffiti with him.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, G's modest. G did her thing out here. You know what I mean? She modest with it, but you know, the name rings bells for those who know. They know. You know what I mean? So, word. So, now let's talk a little bit about when you first started getting into producing. Like, did you always have an idea like, yo, I want to really show out and let heads know I got beats, or like, how'd you get into it?
Well, yeah, for sure. First, I started just because of figuring out that what samples were. Like, I was like watching like an old Godzilla movie. I was just like, yo, this is the same exact sample that they use in the MF Doom song.
Right.
So it's like, like this is where to get that stuff from. So just like figuring out like samples and like how they come about, like and how people flip them just got me interested. And then I tried to make my own stuff at first, but I didn't have no real direction as like to where I wanted to go with it. But then so I stopped for a little bit, and one of my friends that I was in high school with, like he was way ahead of everybody else and just like doing like the beat thing. Like he already had I forget what the model number, but he already had like an MPC, and so he was doing his thing already, and just seeing how he like figured stuff out on there, it's like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And then maybe 3 or 4 years later, I just started jumping back into it.
Word.
And then it's been all straightforward since then.
Dope.
Got you. So tell us a little bit about like where you got it, like jumped right into the DAWs with the software, or are you always like or the standalone beat machine? Are you using a combination? Like how you getting into it like that?
Well, yeah, I was coming up always broke, so just all I had was a computer, so just DAWs at first. But I always figured the way I go about it was always thinking of like in a hardware sense of making beats, like not like having, because you know when you have samplers you have limited amount of sampling time, so my brain always thought like that. So it's just like, how can I pick these parts of the song and then chop it up on the computer but still have it sound like it was chopped on a piece of gear?
Right. No, that's a great aesthetic, and actually like for all producer heads and everybody out there who kind of is a student in the game and knows your history with the progression of like how the beat machine started to develop. Like in the 80s, there wasn't really samplers yet, which is why when you heard a lot of that early Def Jam and heavy with the 808 drum machine or Linn drum or DMX drums, there was no sample time. There was nothing that could actually capture, but what you could basically say disk space or whatever, is physical time on a sampler. And but then, little by little it was getting better. You hear the records change in hip hop, and then like by the early 90s, definitely someone like Pete Rock or different people, SP12, like that has a very particular way though it samples, and in the way it can map out the sound. And, so all the beats that we making today, that's pretty much because we all grew up with that aesthetic of what those beat machines could do on the records that we, all ended up loving. And, Premiere coming out, MPC 60. And then that was one of the first ones that added more sample time. You know what I mean? Just to give people perspectives, because if you come right into the DAW thing, yo, the DAW, like that's endless. You could sample an hour. Dig what I'm
Right.
saying? You could loop an hour if it's crazy enough. You know what I mean? But it's just sometimes working with less is actually more. You know, and it forces you to use a level of creativity and improvisation that you may not have had to be forced to use if you had everything at your fingertips. You see what I'm saying? So,
Exactly right.
What's going on,
Now, just a quick question. Because I know that graffiti is very artistic. Do you or have you maybe taken some of the principles of graffiti and maybe try to translate that into some of your beat making, Billy?
Yeah, it's like, so obviously graph, like, unless you come up with people that you know are doing it, they teach you. Otherwise, you just you learn from what you see. And the same thing comes from like music. Like obviously, you're not trying to bite because that's always frowned upon. But
Word.
Right.
you hear stuff, you take it in, and it's like, all right, how can I do my version of this? Or it's like, well, how did they do what they did? And you try to figure out like how it was made so you can make something not similar, but using the similar techniques.
No doubt. No doubt. And, you know, like, it's got to be said, but, you know, original hip-hop culture, like, you never, ever wanted to bite. Trust me. Like, that was the last thing. You would never want to say, you know, someone to be like, yo, you sound like someone else. Or like, yo, your shit look like someone else. Like, yo, never that. That's just a good reminder. You know what I mean? Even if, like, nobody's feeling your stuff or you're not the most popular one out there, at least if you could stand on your square and be like, but I did it the best way I could do it, you know, to represent for my contribution to this thing. You know what I'm saying? So
That's right.
Right.
you can never forget that. Word up. So, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the time, Billy, when, all right, now you finally got your feet wet, you're comfortable with making your beats, and now your name was getting around. Like, people was like, yo, like, you heard Billy's beats, or maybe you was working with artists, or, you know, starting to get onto records. You know, tell us a little about that transition into that.
Yeah, well, that probably came more closer to like 2016, 17, because I was playing open beats all the time. And around that time too, I got asked to do this event called Freshly Roasted, where you get 3 like samples on a spot, and you got to make a beat out of one or as many as you can in an hour.
Oh, like a freestyle.
Yeah.
You're just giving whatever. Wow.
Yeah, and I'd never done nothing like that before. So, and my very first time, I went up against like 2 like super heavy hitter people like that. People already know. I'm just like, man, I ain't about to win this.
Right.
But I ended up winning like 5, 6 times in a row.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, and that was like the most anybody ever won for that event.
Now,
That's excellent.
I'm not familiar because I know this was a Chicago event. So please tell us the name of that event again.
It was Freshly Roasted. It was hosted by this dude, King Hippo.
Okay. And Freshly Roasted, that's not happening no more?
Nah, that ended like 3 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's what's up, though. Yeah, like these beat battles have changed the game. Like, you know, I'd entered some beat battles kind of when I know that they were really first coming around that I heard of, you know. This was like 2006 maybe. I jumped in a couple beat battles. I went out to Jersey City, Newark. No, Jersey City it was. Anyhow, but yo, I'm going to break a little tangent, but let's keep it real about A-Rab music. Remember A-Rab music? Yo,
definitely.
when he first was coming out, I'm sorry, like that
was
shit was
insane.
ill. Like for real, like
Yo,
that's
wild.
a little piece of like history. You know what I mean? And obviously, like people in the New York area knew about that, but like the word got around quick, like around the whole country. I'm sure, like out there in Europe, all that, because whatever, Japan, Asia, because like, and please, because YouTube archives everything now. It's a treat, man. To like, you gotta search like early 2000s, like when A-Rab music came out, what he could do. This whole like finger drumming thing that's happening now.
Yeah, he's
Everybody
the man.
could thank A-Rab music for that.
For sure.
Word up,
Wow.
man. And it's like your jaw's gonna drop. And like he could go into a room of people that was like club kids, like kids who don't care about no head nod beats or nothing, and they don't vibe like that. He have the club jumping. You know what I mean? So when you hear some of his stuff on recorded records, because now he works with a lot of the biggest artists, you might just say, oh, that's another track, you know, whatever, but you don't know that his roots really came from like a beat battle thing. And my personal opinion, when people saw him rip it, I think that made other people want to throw beat battles. You know, it made other people want to, you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe you can comment on some of your take on that aspect of the culture, Billy.
Yeah, we don't have too many beat battles around here, unfortunately. But I always see like online, just like the people going for it. Like some people play the beat, like their beats, like maybe like 3 in a row, but like 30 seconds each.
Right.
But it's nice to be able to do that because it keeps things like a little bit more fresh and competitive. Like people, everybody's just like, oh yeah, your beats is nice, your beats is nice. And then when you go up against somebody, it's just like, oh, how nice are my things actually? Like, they might not be as nice as I thought they was. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Like, this cat's coming way harder than me.
Yo, no doubt.
I gotta step up.
There was a dude, man. There was another guy in New York. He was an underground rapper too, so you see him spitting a lot. He would jump in MC battles occasionally, but he was ripping beat battles hard for a minute. And you know, he reached a certain level. Forgive me, I'm not remembering his name right now, but that brother was tight too. So word up. So anyhow, yo, Billy, soon we're gonna transition into getting into your set, but I want to ask you a few more things before we get out of here on an interview tip. But so tell us a little bit about. Is there any like artists in particular that you're collaborating with? Any rappers? I don't know if you work with singers, but you know, anyone you're working with right now?
Nah, not really right now. Like I know most of the people I know just make beats. But yeah, if I find somebody that I feel got the right talent or they got an idea for what they want to do, like my beats, like I'm for sure open.
Word. Well, I definitely want to talk with you about that after the episode because, you know, I'm always working with artists that I think would love your style, and I think your style would really complement, you know, because, you know, I just want to shout out Billy real quick because we're in a similar age range, but I'm a little older than Billy. But when I seen him perform live, he reminded me of like a little bit of this like kind of like alternative, like left of field, like hard hitting hip hop beats that I remember coming up with. And if you've seen him at Dorian's that night,
killed it.
Yeah,
killed it.
It was like he had spontaneous rhyme ciphers popping off in the back. There was like 3-4 kids.
Killed it.
I swear to you, there looked like one kid. He was like he never rhymed in his life. He started rhyming. You know what I'm saying? Like
shout out to Damo.
It was hot. Yeah, that shit was hot. But word. And you know what? Like we're hoping like Just Made Media and just, you know, we really passionate about hip hop culture. We respect all the disciplines individually. So if someone's just like does the one thing they do, that's all good. But we definitely an outlet for hip hop culture. So we believe in putting people together. Like, you know, I've always been that way down with the culture. Like if I knew one head did this and another head did that, I'd be like, yo, y'all should link up together. Even if one was a promoter or one was a this or that, you know what I mean? Just to, you know, you got to build the community. See what I'm saying? So we got a comment from the...
A comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
But, you know, what's special about Billy is like he's kind of a triple threat because from my years of knowing him now, the beat thing is new for me because I just found this out.
Word.
But, you know, I knew him as an artist, a graph artist. And, but also, Billy's a photographer.
Oh, there you go.
You know, he was always shooting. So it's kind of nice to kind of have a person in the interview who is very immersed in hip-hop culture, not just making music.
Yeah, Billy, so go ahead. I mean, is there anything in particular you're doing with your photography right now? Or, you know, what's just your take on photography culture and all that as well?
Oh, man, I just like to document whatever I see, just mostly for myself, quite honestly. Because there's some things that I be seeing, it's just like, man, nobody's even going to believe me if I tell them this stuff.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. Yeah. We were at a nice photography show just about a month ago. Our man Matt. Man.
Were you? Did you ever? Yeah. Did you ever?
Yeah, that was a good show.
Oh, okay.
Real good
we must
show.
have just missed you.
Yeah. Show was excellent. You know, the human experience. You know what I mean? When photography came into play, you know, wow. You know what I mean? You know, big shout out to like a lot of my peoples from back in the days. I went to school. It was kind of like an art school. You know, State University school in New York, but I used to be roommates with a bunch of photographers, you know. So I said, let me take myself a photography class, and I was in a dark room with them and everything in the old days. But you know, photography is an important thing. You know what I mean? So
No doubt.
and damn, these cell phones are just getting better and better. So everyone's like a damn walking photographer nowadays. You know what I mean? But
Indeed.
word, and that's what's up though, because now it's like a lot of people were counted out in the past. So now we all document in our experience. You know, little kids is coming up already getting used to being documented. And, you know, I know we all talk about the oversaturation, but in big picture, let's keep it real. Like, you know, there were entire sections of the population that would barely ever get any documentation. You dig what I'm saying? So now we all getting documented. None of them can stop us. You dig what I'm saying? So word. So all right, last but not least, I just want to tell us a little bit any upcoming records that you're working on or any upcoming shows that you have. Just let the people know.
Yeah. I just dropped a cassette tape 2 days ago. That's on this label called Monk Records. They were in Spain, but they moved to Scotland.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do a lot of similar sounding tapes. Real good
Word.
label to check out. That's Monk Records. And then I got a show at Golden Dagger, which is on the north side on the 16th. I've never been there before, so we'll see.
Word.
We'll be
That's
there.
what's up. Yeah, we got to definitely try to make it out to that one. And when we this officially will release sometime in January, this episode taped. So we'll make sure we have all the links to Billy's his profiles and where you can get his music and all that. So yeah, man. Yo, great interview. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Billy.
Yeah, Billy, man.
For sure.
We
Thanks
looking
for
forward
having
to
me.
this live set. Big shout out to Gigi again. And John, and when you can bring us to the commercial break, let's go ahead. We're about to get into this set.
Word.
Personality, pretty, but a fat ass too, respectfully.
That was the last song? Yeah. Play a little outro for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Word up. That was word. That was an ill set. My man Billy the Kid definitely rocked it right there. Damn, I love this kid's beats. No pun intended. Billy the Kid's beats. I love these beats. Yeah, we want to thank him. What a great set, man. Give me 1 second. I gotta mention something to the engineer. All right.
Yes. Give it up for Billy.
Word. Yeah, we're just getting ourselves in order here. Yeah, just big shout out again to Billy the Kid for coming in the house. Big shout out to Gigi.
What up?
Always.
Rocking as always. And big shout out to John 10% on the engineer board today, running the video and the audio mix for us. And we're going to see you next time in the next episode. Peace.
Yes.